Hello, welcome back to Deadfall. This is BioEnchanted, and today we'll be going through the mine level. So let's get started, shall we, by picking up our equipment first of all. This level is simultaneously my favourite level for core gameplay, but my least favourite level when it comes to the collectibles, and we'll see why. But first of all, we have an electrified fence to get through, so let's get started with that, shall we? There's actually something that's very well hidden in this room. This generator behind this wall. You wouldn't even know it was there unless you already, knew it was there, pretty much. There's no real, signposting that it's there, except for maybe following some, cables, maybe I think that was the idea. But now that's done, we can go through that door, so let's see what's through there, shall we? And of course there's something very glaringly obvious here that I miss, but it won't be for long. And missing it means I find something else, so it's not too bad really, in the long run. First of all, let's go to this little door over here that's kind of easily missed. And move this bag for our first collectible of the level. Most of the collectibles in this level aren't too bad, but there are two of them that are kind of a nightmare, and I'll go into those when we get there. For now though, we need to get out the main area now. The problem is though, this door's locked, and I didn't see the key on the wall because I'm an idiot. So excuse me while I look around for a key. But I do find something else though, so that's where I kept this in, because it does show something else that's somewhat important. Not this guy's floppy body, well, very rigid body really, but yeah. But this. First map for a while, that one really. As you can see, this level's fairly straightforward. Now I've remembered what I missed, so let's go grab it, shall we? I felt very stupid around here. Very obvious big giant glowing key on the wall. I feel foolish. So let's actually get started the level properly, shall we? Funny enough, there's actually... As far as I'm aware, this is actually the only level, I think this is the only level where you have actual Russians. Everything else after this is undead and Nazis. There's no more Russians after this whole level, this is just a little island of Russian right in the middle of the Nazi conflict. So adding a little Cold War in there for a little extra pulp. Not a fan of the shotguns, let's go for a assault rifle, shall we? Because we're dealing with range here, that's a much smarter thing to do. And let's not get blown up by grenades too. The first few seconds of this level aren't too difficult really, it's just fairly basic shooting and things like that. The main problem with it is there's a wide kind of arc in front of you where the cavern kind of opens up, which means that enemies can come in a couple of different directions. It can be easy to miss where they're coming from. So finding where they are is a little tricky. But it's still not too bad compared to a few of the later fights. I mean, this level has what I consider to be one of the harder fights with human enemies, but this isn't one of them. It's a normal fight, this one, really. No real gimmicks to it, no stalactites to shoot down, just these guys. I mean, you'll see why this level is one of my favourites later on when we get to that point, but for now, we're not there yet. course, there's a collectible in here, but I'm focusing on killing all the enemies first to trigger the checkpoint and everything like that. Because this is a particularly annoying... This is one of the worst collectibles in the game. Probably the worst collectible, but we'll see it after just shooting all the men. Rude. Yeah, by the way, enemies can melee you. And you can melee as well with pressing the B button. I just never use it because it's a bad idea. You can swipe a knife with the B button, which I've completely forgotten about. I get to show off at the end of the level, although it doesn't... Oh no, I think I cut it out because I died when I tried to use it, but it's like, just so that you know, pressing B makes you swipe a knife. It's not useful in the least. But we're nearly finished killing all the guys. We just need to stop the music playing. I'm about to find the last guy, and then we can see where the real fun in this level begins. And there he is, just hanging out there, not even realizing we're behind him now. The AI can get a little stuck sometimes, so you have to help it out with a bit of a push. So let's go to that particular collectible, shall we? I had to cut out a lot right here. It's a jumping puzzle on water on unusually shaped platforms. The physics on these platforms is not particularly effective when it comes to actually being on them, which is bad considering it's a jumping puzzle with no way around it. And they're constantly sinking and rising as well. It's moving platforms. It's like the most video gamey collectible in the entire game, but it's such a bad collectible. And you can barely see them rising back up again, and you have to kind of preempt them. And as you can see here, when you want some of the weird shaped ones, it can really mess with the physics because you're on water, so constantly bobbing around and constantly being slightly rotated while on them. It's a huge nightmare to get any kind of control scheme going on here. I kept in a few of this just to illustrate how annoying this puzzle is. But I cut the majority of them out because, again, this took me literally half an hour. I mean, this is absolute nonsense. I absolutely hate this puzzle. It's a shame because it completely drags down what's otherwise a really good level. With some really fun moments, including one that's coming up after this annoying part. It's almost like it bookends the annoying parts between fun parts, so it kind of stops being too annoyed at it. But the main trick is that particular thing over there. Don't go for that. It looks closer, but it's a weird shape for the platform to be. And yeah, well, technically they're all usable as platforms. As you can see from that edit point, this is the closest successful one now. That was the half hour that just went by. But yeah, some of these platforms are really weird shapes or really small, and it's just not a good idea to try and land on them. You have to kind of work out which ones would work best. I can only imagine how bad this puzzle would be on hard difficulty. Which is why I never played this game on hard. Because it just would not be worth doing this nonsense on with more difficult timing or with less platforms. I wouldn't even know how they'd do it, really. I can only assume on easy they probably don't rise and fall at all, which would be very nice. But I'm not playing on easy, and I'm not going to switch down the difficulty just for this puzzle. I have my pride. And of course we can't just immediately go because they all kind of sink from the start. And so if you start, you just can't stop. You can't finish it because you'll just be trapped in the middle with the sinking platform and nowhere else to go. You have to wait for them all to kind of sink first, and that kind of resets the puzzle, so then they can start rising at their own pace. At least that's the recommended way of doing this nonsense. Because again, there is no way around it. You just have to do it. The game just becomes a platformer for about half an hour as you die a million times trying to get this bloody collectible on this really precarious part that you can even just slip off of. Because that wall's a really weird shape as well. And now we have to work out how to get back. Because of course there's no checkpoints and no autosaves, so you can't just... no quick saves, so you can't just save scum around here. You have to do the whole thing if you die on the way back. It's just such a pile of nonsense. I really don't like this puzzle at all. But we're done with it now. It's over. The worst puzzle in the game is now officially over. So let's spend a few things, shall we? It's always nice to be able to do that. A few upgrades just to take the bite out of all those deaths. Again, literally half an hour cut out of that nonsense. This video is 120 minutes before I start cutting it down. There's one other part of this level that's particularly annoying. It's another collectible, but we'll see it much later into it. For now, let's just enjoy a much better puzzle. These minecarts. The whole thing here is, of course, we need to get the minecarts in the right tracks on the right order. By switching these switches to make the tracks change positions. If the cart hits, like, another cart, it'll just bounce straight back into its position. Which it doesn't do if it hits the wooden thing, so you have to just kind of keep things moving. And here's an example of the bouncing back, which is weird because it technically really shouldn't have done that because I only moved the switch twice, which would have reset that first track. But this puzzle's a bit weird, but at least it's not nearly as bad as the last one. And now we've pretty much solved it. Once we move that one. I quite like all these collapsed carts over here, this massive like stockpile of dead carts. It's pretty visually interesting and neat place to put it. So now let's actually continue the level on to what my personal favourite part of this level is. Of course,
time to take a tour around the neighborhood.
Time for a minecart section. Let's go Donkey Kong on this. This is a really interesting and fun kind of thing because there's such ridiculous tracks, but you'll see. You start off relatively normal. And we got shot out from behind there by a rocket launcher just to get us started, so that was a bit weird. And here's where it really gets fun. It's more of a roller coaster than a minecart, really. It's just so ridiculous how fast you go, and these hills that you're on and stuff, and like, it's just kind of, it's a visually fun set piece. It's very easy. You not really in much danger because you're moving far too quickly to be shot down very effectively by the enemies, and the enemies often just kind of wipe themselves out if you don't manage to kill them because of the way it's presented. Like, they'll always crash into something or fall off something so you don't get overwhelmed. So, like, just to show how dangerous this cart area is, they'll get like, they'll move too fast and go flying off the track or around the corner, or they'll crash into something like that. And like that guy just flew out that cart there. It's just a matter of knowing like which one. Shooting at them just stopped them shooting you until that happens. He just fell right off the track there. A lot of explosions and a lot of slowdown as well. There's a lot of places where it just kind of freezes for a bit while it loads the next section of the minecart because it's not very well optimized, this game. But it's otherwise a really interesting set piece. Like this, for example. This is it loading the next section of the minecart, which kind of spoils the effect a little bit. You always end up with this kind of stuff as well. Now we're in a firefight pretty much immediately. I mean, that's really fun. I really like that. That's a really good use of the cinematic aspects of this game. Like, it takes me back to the rail from the Arctic levels where you had that thing where you like rode that little rail thing when the cave was exploding behind you. That sort of thing is always something I really like in these kinds of games. That kind of cinematic stuff, because it's always just fun to watch. This is a much easier shooting gallery because the enemies are kind of in a similarly wide position to where you are. So it means that you can't really get as easily surrounded because you have as much horizontal movement as the enemies do. But it also means that enemies are less likely to come at you from behind or like try and manage to flank you because, again, there's less room for them to get around you. Because you can just keep going left until they can't go left anymore. The arc is just much easier to work with. But be careful here, there's an explosive barrel right next to me. I get well kind of lucky that it doesn't get pegged. And there we are. So let's pick up a collectible, shall we? Which is parallel to the area we just came from. Of course, we can't walk up the minecart, but we don't have to, because you have this cave over here. That's kind of easy to miss, because you might not think to turn around when you get in here. Especially considering you're always pushing forward fighting the enemies. It's a very cleverly hidden area. So there's a little bit of a loop to go through. Let's move quickly, because this area does collapse when we pick up the thing. At least some of the area does. Not much of it, but enough. I don't even really know why it feels the need to explode like that. I mean, it's not like you're in any real danger, because it's not collapsing on top of you. It just kind of feels like a weirdly pointless thing. You could easily just go, like, to the right as well, unless the right collapses if you don't go left first. Not entirely certain on that one. Because I've never gone that way before. So let's solve the puzzle, shall we? We need to get through that door. First of all, we have another collectible over here as well. Again, easy to miss. I mean, I do quite like the collectibles that are a big puzzle to get them. But things like that jumping puzzle one are just nonsense. It's just like, you're going a bit too far in the wrong direction there, mate. This isn't Mario. We're not built for jumping in this game. It's not even Half-Life, which is like relatively decent first-person platforming. This is just kind of doesn't quite work as well as you'd need it to for that kind of thing to be workable. Of course, let's grab some dynamite to solve the puzzle to get out of this room, because we have a big metal door. It seems kind of obvious, really. Didn't really want that one.
I should plan another one, just to be safe.
I love this little thing. This is a really cute idea that the game has. It's quite funny and I quite like it. It blows up everything but the door. I like that visual gag. It's a really cute thing. Especially that the door forms the bridge as well. It's just overall, it's a very well put together set piece. And because of the way the walls are kind of, the whole like animated textures and everything like the way you're expecting, it kind of, all you really notice is the one on the door. So you just expect to blow the door off its hinges. You don't expect the whole wall to explode. And the door to just flop. It's such a, like, Looney Tunes kind of moments, but it works really well with the tone this game has. It's comedic enough that the main character does try and wisecrack, even if he's not very good at it. Or likable enough to make it work. Of course, there's a gold thing over there that we could shoot to trigger a trap to kill the enemies, but it's unreliable doing that at the best of times. It would make these walls kind of push outwards and crush them, I think. Or it would shoot them with something, one of those two, like spikes maybe. We have to be kind of careful here, because of course there are coffins around here as well. Which means it's very easy for us to get swarmed by undead at the same time. Only a few of the undead are in here this area, but there's enough coffins to kind of make you play a little more carefully than you otherwise would need to. Let's get off this grenade that's right at our feet, shall we? Yeah, this area has kind of an annoying amount of cover, but let's actually use a grenade for once in our lives with dynamite. I think that worked, couldn't quite tell. Here's something really annoying that happens as well. I accidentally shoot something I shouldn't do, and it results in something I was trying to avoid. I accidentally shot the thing, and now these little scarab things are everywhere. And they're really annoying because you can't just step on them to kill them, they just bite you and do damage to you. So you have to shoot them, and it's just such a pain to deal with. I mean, on that very early puzzle, well not puzzle, but on that very early collectible in the vase, in the very first level at the end of it, if you shoot the wrong vase, you'll get swarmed by scarabs, as a kind of like a tutorial on how not to do that. That's basically just making sure you know how to use the compass, that one. And of course, let's just finish dealing with all these guys, and once we've dealt with all the guys, we have another puzzle over there to solve. An optional one, but an amusing one. Like all the puzzles in this game, it's fairly basic, but, you know. I'm kind of impressed I managed to go the entire fight out without triggering any of these coffins, because I got kind of unlucky before when I did this every time I'd end up triggering all those coffins and having to fight the undead guys. So I generally did it on purpose just to get them out of the way so I wouldn't have to worry about it. But it's just still kind of annoying. Just want to make sure I'm not going to get constantly shot in the back by this guy. So let's just take care of this first before we actually, you know, do the puzzle. And there we go. So let's solve the puzzle. And then, for some reason, it's like, I'm not sure if it's timed, what triggers the next event, or whether you actually have to solve the puzzle to get the event to trigger. But let's just solve this puzzle for collectible, shall we?
Carrying the water over with my hands would take forever.
Well, it's a good job we have this bucket of water, isn't it? There's infinite water, we don't even have to fill it here. It's just the bucket has infinite water. So let's go solve the puzzle, shall we? This is what we need the bucket for. Filling these in the right order to open that gate. This is a weird one because you don't actually have to do all of the ones in that sequence. You just kind of follow the sequence until all the bars are open. It's a very strange puzzle because of that, because it's like, here we've actually solved it, we don't even have to do the 1-2 part. And I don't quite get that, that's a very weird design choice. It makes you think it's going to be 2 extra steps that don't exist. Unless it's just a matter of, like, the rights, unless you only have to do all the steps on hard, that's what I can assume there, that maybe easy is just the right buckets, medium is the right 3 buckets, and hard's all of the ones in the sequence. But even if that's the case, surely you just update the texture on the notepad for which puzzle you're trying to solve. It's just a very strange way of doing that one. But this is what makes that puzzle kind of weird, because I'm not sure if it's optional or not, because it seems to be what triggers these guys showing up. But given it's only for a collectible, it's a very strange thing. It's just hard to understand, that choice. Otherwise you end up like getting stuck, not knowing how to proceed because the minecarts aren't there, and then you might not want to bother with the puzzle. But here we go, let's actually do the most fun part of this level. The most ridiculous of the 2 minecarts. I mean, this is like a long minecart section, but it's also similarly easy to the other ones, and it's just kind of fun to watch, so let's just enjoy the ride, shall we? I quite like all the tilting track areas here as well. It just makes it feel more and more roller coaster and less actual minecart. It's just so ridiculous. We're not in a mine, we're in a wild mouse. Wild mouse is a British term for those kind of like, a very specific kind of roller coaster that's kind of very basic and doesn't really have any loop-de-loops. It's just a basic kind of somewhat speedy, but generally mostly just hills kind of coaster. I don't even know what's keeping the minecart's momentum going given how heavy we probably are. And surely on these flat parts it should just kind of run out momentum, and then somehow it picks up speed going up this. This is what makes it feel more like a roller coaster than an actual minecart, because it's such a ridiculous kind of mechanism that shouldn't work, because it looks like it's purely momentum based. But it's just kind of fun to watch nonsense unfold. And this is the main reason this part of the level is one of my favourites in the game, because of this ridiculous nonsense. It's only going to get more and more ridiculous as we get into the lava. Now we're full on Donkey Kong over here. But look at this! Convection, this should not be holding up at all. Now swinging hooks everywhere and there's chains and stuff. It's like a boss arena in an RPG almost in some points. It's just so nonsensical, and all these like big like platforms. It's like literal platforms. The big cog? I mean, what's even going on anymore here? It's like the whole mine is falling apart because they built it over lava out of wood and didn't think things through. It's like the mine is falling apart from convection, it's just they didn't think that would happen. Whoops. It's just like, it's stupid, but in just the right kind of way to be charming. It's just the right kind of pulpy stupid that's like, very Indiana Jones and very just kind of entertaining and ridiculous and fun. And I really love it for that. It's just kind of a shame about all the loading spots that spoil it. Because just how fast it's going, it's like the game can't keep up with it at all. But it's definitely like a spectacle, and I always quite like spectacles, so that's fine. I mean, I wear them.
This place is huge.
Now we have...
It's like they ordered them to start digging and forgot to tell them when to stop.
Here we are towards the end of the coaster, this like ludicrous nonsense over here. And about to come to the second worst puzzle in this level. I called it a dungeon because of that ridiculous minecart. It's so video gamey, it just made me think it was just playing Zelda for a second there. This is a particularly annoying puzzle as well. I had to edit here because of a lot of failures, because of the way this puzzle works. There is an object that's very easily destroyed in the ensuing firefight here. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that object to be destroyed. You'll see what I mean in a few minutes when we get across this big bridge. But first we actually have to do something very annoying as well here. Shoot that little switch on the other side, which is a very, very, very tiny target. And even when the crosshair's red, we can still miss. It's just a crapshoot whether you'll actually hit it. I mean, that time the crosshair was white. We shouldn't have hit it, but we somehow did because it clipped through it just the right way. So let's take care of these guys very carefully, trying to avoid destroying the object we need to solve the puzzle. Luckily, it's only a completely optional puzzle, but I turned around here to check on it. You can see it's that jerry can over there. The fuel can, sorry. Translation there for the non-Brits that don't understand the whole jerry can etymology. Which is so cool because it was the one similar to the one the Germans used, or the jerrys in World War I, I think it was, to carry fuel, so the British called them jerry cans because they were the Germans' cans. But it survived. We can't do anything with it yet because we need to do something with it, because this switch doesn't work. It's just kind of annoying. Sometimes you kind of need to interact with the thing so that he'll know you can't do anything with it, and then you can actually pick up the item to solve the puzzle. It's just kind of annoying you don't let you skip any steps. That's a bit of a downside to this otherwise kind of fun puzzle when you get past that annoying firefight. So let's fuel up this generator. And now let's pull the switch. That's completely pointless, that area over there. There's a whole area that you can wander down, but there's literally nothing there. No enemies, no collectibles, it's just an outcropping. It's a very strange design choice, that one. Probably just to make the area feel more organic and less, like, constrained. You know, less curated, I think was the best term. And again, with how video gaming this area is, it's impossible for it not to feel curated. So let's quickly, on the way down, grab this collectible, shall we? By tagging it with the A button, and there we go. We nearly got all the treasures in this level now. Some of them weren't too bad, some of them were a little annoying, but we've otherwise got almost all of them, just one more to go. So let's drop this bridge and finish this lava area with this giant cartoon skull over the exit. It's so ludicrous, this area. It's like... it's such a, like, weird kind of an area because it doesn't feel like anything that really exists. I mean, the other levels kind of feel like they could actually be places, but this one is just the most ridiculous. And I think that's why I love it so much, because it's so in its own little weird world that doesn't even fit like the pulpy movies it's meant to be based off of. This is a fairly tricky firefight, because the enemies come in a very kind of a wide arc, because you have this big kind of gap in the middle of the room where there's not really much there, with much of obstacles, so you have to be kind of careful here.
These Reds are either crazy or brilliant.
We're still getting bothered by the fact that the subtitle thing is under the arrow counter instead of the other way around. I mean, they could have laid that better, really. This is obviously a very budget game, but a charming one. This is just probably one of the longest levels in the game as well, because of its more screwy parts. It just takes longest to get through because of those annoying collectibles, really. These fights aren't too bad. I left this one death in because it's only a small fight, really. I just kind of got unlucky there.
So much technology here in the middle of nowhere. Crazy or brilliant.
There's one last death, but I cut that one out, don't worry. I'm surprised that I only died once in the upcoming thing, because it normally gives me so much trouble. It's what I consider to be one of the hardest fights against these kind of enemies in the entire game. This isn't it. We're coming up to it though. This is just kind of the precursor to it. Let's not get melee, shall we? In this room, of course, is the last collectible, and it's also another one of those puzzles that you really should be able to skip steps on, but it just doesn't let you. It's so terrible, and yeah, this gun is just not very good. I really just don't like this gun at all. I'm just kind of stuck with it right now, because I don't really have time to run around looking for something else, because, yeah, I get shot up while trying to find something else. So I'm just kind of stuck with all the pistols, and I've gone back to pistols because they fire faster. I always hate slow-firing weapons in games, especially when it's not as powerful as it could be. I mean, I've played games with decent slow-firing weapons, like decent shotguns and stuff, that's just not one of them, really. Nearly done here. Also takes forever to actually reload it too, it's just generally a subpar gun. And there we go. So let's find our final puzzle of this level, shall we? Once we've grabbed some more ammo. Of this little tunnel over here, this, again, easily missed. Is this lone door. The only thing is you kind of need to interact with it for every stage of this puzzle. And it's really annoying, especially considering like it takes away your dynamite between each of these, it seems like, because I had 5 dynamite. I only used 3, I should have 2 left. But of course there's a crowbar over here that we can't pick up. But it's shiny, but we can't pick it up yet because we don't know we need to use it yet. We should have been able to pick that up, but it's just not letting us yet. So let's look for some dynamite. It's always a little tricky to find, you just have to know where it is, really. It's just a very nondescript box, really, until you get close enough to see it. I like the little handcar over there, that's a cute visual. Don't really need them though, because the minecarts seem to propel themselves, even on massive hills. This is just like a little box, pretty much, of stuff. Like some machinery you can navigate past if you want some more ammo, but yeah. Like, it seems to think I already have. Seems to think I've actually got grenades instead of dynamite. I don't know why it kind of seems to randomly switch out like that, but yeah, kind of does. Unless I accidentally picked it up without meaning to, which is possible. While picking up ammo, I may have accidentally picked up some normal grenades. So let's get out of here before we get crushed. But that isn't enough to actually open the door. Because it's now locked as well. I don't even know what that dynamite supposedly did. Like, maybe it destroyed something on the other side of the door because of the concussive force. But it's just a very strange puzzle because the door doesn't really look that damaged. It's like, again, very Looney Tunes. It just looks charred. Now we can grab the crowbar. It might have been done this way because maybe they didn't know how to. Maybe the engine couldn't handle programming carrying more than one item. Or maybe they just didn't have an inventory in that way. But now we've actually got this door open, we can get this statue, and that's the last treasure in the level. Let's move on to the very final section, shall we? What may be the hardest fight with human enemies in the game. Here we go. Let's do it.
Welcome to my castle, cowboy.
The little window.
To watch my soldiers tear you to pieces. Prepare to die.
Here I don't do too badly actually. I actually won this fight on the second try. But it's such a huge room, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed here. Like I almost do here, really. It's like, it's a very difficult fight because it's just so big and there's so many layers to it. So there's like 3 layers to each of these room areas, each side of the room. And there are enemies on at least 2 of those 3 layers. And it's just kind of ridiculous. And there's the middle part and the big part in the middle as well, where they can be shooting at either side. And it's just a ridiculous fight, this one. Pardon? Oh, we have so many guys to kill, so let's just get on that, shall we? And there's the knife swipe. It's not very good, it's got very short range, and by the time you're swiping someone with a knife, you're just getting shot by everyone anyway, so it's just not much use. At least there are plenty of machine guns, so the problem is they're all being used on me right now. Which is not ideal. Tactically, I mean, it's a very, very, Sun Wu's Art of War, for example, in Sun Tzu's Art of War, rather. I screwed up the name there, but either way, he doesn't recommend actually avoiding getting hit by enemy attacks. I mean, it's a very basic part of the art. It's like perspective in normal art. You don't do well at not being shot, you won't do well at combat in general. Rule number 2, of course, of Sun Tzu's Art of War, because he is a bit of a child, is stop hitting yourself. This guy doesn't seem to know what's quite going on, does he? He hasn't quite got the plot of where we are and what's really happening here. It's kind of risky being right in the middle like this, but I just want to take care of these guys, and doing it from above is a little annoying. These guys are one of the biggest dangers, really, because they can shoot you when you're on either side of the room, and because of the way the cover's placed, it can be really hard to hit them. I'm sorry about that noise, that kind of rubbed the mic by accident. I think we're very nearly done. It's a very long fight. It's ended with a very weird puzzle, and there's no checkpoint as far as I remember. I'll still keep an eye out if there is a checkpoint, but like, I don't remember auto-saving between the fights in the puzzle. Which means if you fail the puzzle, it's possible probably to die when you fail the puzzle. You might have to redo the whole fight again. But we'll see the puzzle in a minute. When we finish taking care of the business over here. There's the business. Finally. And that sound clip will not finish playing for the entire rest of the level. That Quartermain help will be playing all the time, but here's the puzzle. We have to get these cranes aligned, because we actually have to use them to get where we need to be, because otherwise that room is fortified. We can't get into that door. So we need to use these cranes to get on top of that room. This puzzle's a little annoying, because it can be kind of unpredictable how these cranes really move. Sometimes they can seem to get stuck on... It can be hard to tell what they're stuck on. And then the guy's sound clips never stop speaking, so you're constantly hearing Get Them Comrades and Quartermain help throughout the entire level, including during the cutscene, which I don't remember happening when I first played this level, but yeah. Seems like a unique glitch that we're going to have to enjoy. So now we're up here, we can do this part of the puzzle as well, moving this crane. Which is more complicated because it's a two-part crane with a big kind of thing in the middle that can go forward and back. Or the main carriage that can go left and right. And it moves very slowly. So slowly. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that can get a bit confusing, where it gets stuck on something, but that's because it's just scripted to blow right through it anyway. But if the carriage thing is in the wrong vertical position on the conveyor, it can just get stuck somewhere and be very hard to tell where it's got stuck. Like there, for example. I believe we can't actually go any further until we move this down a little bit. Oh yeah, I think I'll stop there because it's actually where we need it right now. Because we need to do something with dynamite here, of course. And for some reason, we seem not to have any again. It seems very weird that whenever it gives you a puzzle that requires dynamite, it just takes away all of your dynamite. It's not quite here yet, so let's get a little bit further. That should do it.
Dynamite?
Yeah, for some reason, I seem to no longer have dynamite, despite surely still having at least 4 pieces left. Up here, of course, is just where we need to go when we've solved the puzzle. It's not where the dynamite is. Chill, I'm helping. Oh. I think it was just me checking to see what I actually had, because it just seems to just give you grenades when it's time for the actual fight. Unless again, I may have accidentally picked them up without realising it. I don't really know how that precisely would have happened, because I don't remember looking for any grenades, but there you go. It may just prioritise them during fights, like it may just have you pick them up automatically or something like that, I'm not certain. It's a little annoying whenever you come across a puzzle that requires dynamite and you just can't do it. Until you find the dynamite in the room. It's just kind of it's just busy work, and it's just unfun for that. And let's finish moving it, but annoyingly we can't actually check to see if it's in the right position because of the way the view works. This is why I prefer these kind of puzzles in third-person games, because it makes it much more obvious when there's actually something like moving. You can just move the camera too. But it's generally within range, so let's now get rid of this engine. It's just in our way. Because now we can actually proceed, now that we can move things a bit further along. Because that chain was in the way, we couldn't move it anywhere with that chain there. So let's move this even further to the left now. Pretty much all the way in this case. It's not quite all the way yet, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on where it is in relation to the room, because of course it's the last part of the step we need to get to the actual room is along that last part of the crane. And of course we need to move this a bit further away as well so that we can go use it to get closer to the room. We just need to kind of know precisely where it needs to be in relation to us, and because it's a first person, we can't really get a good head for exactly the angle it's at. It's just kind of a puzzle that's a little annoying to do from this stage. And here I was just making sure the other crane was in the right position as well, because if that's in the wrong position, that would be a big pain. But again, there's only one place that crane can be in for this puzzle to work, which is all the way to the right, which it already is. So this is kind of unnecessary, but this is just me making absolutely certain. I was taking a look at where the crane was in relation to everything else. Just keep an eye on how things move. It's like, no, that's bad. That's not something we want. So let's move it the other way, shall we? Back to where it was. This puzzle is just kind of weird. I always get a bit stuck here and end up having to look something up, which I didn't do this time. But normally I get like the big middle part of the crane, the big one of the trucks, and the little platform that goes forward and back. I usually get that one stuck somewhere and can't work out how to make it move. And then I was like, end up looking it up, and then even then it's not elucidating the situation at all. And I still can't move it. It's just really irritating. But for some reason this time it just kind of worked, and I'm okay with that. So let's complete the puzzle now, shall we? Now that we know everything else is in the right position, this is the last piece to move. But of course we can't move it too far and keep an eye on it, because otherwise it takes our viewpoint off the button. Wrong direction. But again, it's hard to really see where that room is in relation to the rest of the crane. It's kind of an awkward puzzle, this one. Well, I believe we may have got it where we need it to be, so let's try and get up on this crane now, which is very hectic. Not an easy thing to do, getting on top of this crane, because of these platforms being just a little bit weirdly shaped. In fact, you have to kind of jump from this one to the crane itself, and the crane has that little kind of weird wall thing going on. Now we can't really easily get back up, now we just kind of have to drop down again. It's an annoying platform. This part of the game seems to really enjoy annoying platforming parts, which don't really work very well, but here we go. There we are. And we should be about right from here, so let's get across this big crane.
Bridge, and I know a comrade who's in for a hell of a surprise.
Will pay for the death of my soldiers.
Oh, he cares. Let's follow that little part of the bridge and then get through here, shall we?
What took you so long?
I had to finish a game of chess with one of my commie friends. Now come on, let's move.
Hagen's probably halfway to Guatemala already. We might as well just give up now and start planning for the apocalypse.
Look at
Quartermain, help!
We will get out of here. We'll follow Hagen to Guatemala, and I'll force-feed him every last piece of gold I've found in these godforsaken temples. You paid me to get you that artifact, remember? Job's not done yet.
My, how you've changed, Mr. Quartermain.
I don't actually know what happened to the big bad guy from this area. He just disappears. It's weird.
Everything has an end. If only you live long enough to see it. Professor Jacobs had gathered more information about the heart. 3 fragments. 1 in Egypt, 1 in the Arctic, and 1 at our destination, the jungles of Guatemala. Yet not even the professor could tell us what might happen if the fragments are reunited. But what's the good of talking? Those who live to see.
Did the professor tell you about the source of the new information on the heart?
Sorry about that corruption there. There was only that line that was affected.
Granddad Alan? Hell, when he was a kid, the prof even met the old man.
Yes, I know. Get to the point.
Easy, soldier. The prof owns a couple of the old man's unpublished diaries, where great-granddad speculates about the connection between the legend of the 7 cities of gold and the temples we've been to. Great-granddad Alan thought there are 7 temples, and he managed to find 6 of them before he died.
But he didn't find the heart of Atlantis?
Or maybe was smart enough not to unite it.
That damn German snake. We have to get the heart back.
And then our only worry will be what to do on Saturday nights.
Our?
Well, I know this little place near a lovely oasis.
What the hell?
Turbulence, maybe?
James,
Jan?
remember those spirals on the map?
Yes?
I don't think they were for decoration. There's a giant vortex building up beneath us. It's pulling us in! Help me! I can't hold it!
Jennifer, we have to jump while we still can.
I need to warn the professor!
The radio's fried. Come on, we have to go now.
Don't know why it corrupted there. It hasn't done it before. I think it might have just been because of the sheer length of the recording. It may just have been unable to really hold it, but at least we're at the end of the video now. And this is a very pretty level, so I look forward to showing it off to you. And hopefully not having another hour and 20-minute recording that just can't quite handle its own weight.
Well, if you want to give me the kiss of life.
In your dreams.
I sure hope so.
So I'll see you next time,
Let's check what's left of the plane.
as we
Maybe can
begin
salvage
the
some
next
of the
level,
equipment.
and the final section of the game, Guatemala. Which is the longest section as well. See you then. Bye.